Well, good evening. So my topic is why use AFM contracts. So there's actually four questions here: why, what, when, and how. And I'm going to try to let you know all of these answers in 15 minutes or less.
Stephanie got 20. You can take 20.
Oh, okay. All right.
No,
Hey.
you guys had the question, right? It wasn't her fault.
All right. So one of the first things as to answering the question, why should you put your recordings on AFM contracts? For future revenues that will come if your song is repurposed in another way. So when you do, as you see on your right side, there are different other streams of revenues that can come from you putting your recordings on AFM paper. It protects your product, it protects you, it protects your future as well, the future you, especially if you file with your local, and the pension also would be part of your contract. So let's just go into, there are many different levels of putting your, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to let you guys know this. So when you record, let's say you're making an album, so you're using the sound recording labor agreement. When you file a sound recording labor agreement with your local, you are documenting who was on each tune, what they were paid. You're going to be sending in pension on above their wage, work dues to the local, pension to the pension office. And what happens with once a year, the Special Payments Fund dials into the pension office, and they get all the recordings that were done under the sound recording labor agreement. And what happens is it produces revenues for everybody on that contract. And this is how it breaks down. So even if you didn't, as you can see here, there's a scale wage of $13.80.78 for 45 minutes of recorded material. And year 1, year 2, year 3, for 5 years, you're going to get residuals on that contract. You don't have to do anything but file your paperwork. And these are the residuals you will get. And I know I'm not explaining it all fully here. I'm trying to navigate through this. Also, if your music is used in a different way than it was originally purposed, so you've made an album, but now a movie wants to pick it up, that will generate new use fees. New use fees are, we get yearly in our office, the major labels send us reports of songs that they've licensed throughout the year. And then we, because the labels will license a song that for one of their bands, but there's a secondary revenue that we collect for the musicians, and that's called the new use. So if your recording is picked up in a commercial or in a video game or whatever, it's repurposed in another way, there's a new use fee tied to that for you. I won't go into all these examples. Well, maybe I will. No, I won't. Sorry. Let me see if I can jump ahead here. Well, this is a second example of a song that was used in a video game, and then it was used by Netflix, and then after in a commercial by Geico. And so each of these uses is a new use. And so there are residual payments for those musicians on each of those uses. So last year, our office collected over $500,000 for new use placements in Canada. And those we paid out. So I am going to now. So pension. Pension is a benefit. It's for your future. It's the future you. This is the money. Just as Tom was talking about insurance, often it's afterwards that we think about it. Same with pension. When we're younger, we don't think about pension, right? It's not until we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and we start like, oh gosh, what's going to happen? And I got it. I get it. I was the same way. So the Canadian pension law requires that every musician listed on an AFM contract, CFM contract, same thing, must be able to collect pension from the employer. In most scenarios, and I'm just reading this, the money is paid directly from the employer to the pension fund. But in live contracts, the live performance contract for Canada, it allows the musician to collect the pension and the leader to submit it on behalf of the employer. So you don't have to have a separate check. In the old days, you used to have a separate check from the employer for pension and then one for the wage. So you don't, we've taken care of that the employer can just check a box or the leader checks a box and submits it on behalf of everyone. The money is held in trust by the trust into your account for 2 years. If within those 2 years 4 pension payments are made, then you are considered vested in the program. And all previous pension payments will be placed in your account until retirement. All right, and this is just an example. Person named Morgan, 52 years old, regular bar gig once a week. They start collecting pension today and invest $30, 15% of $200, from each gig to the pension fund, Musician Pension Fund of Canada. By retirement age of 65, they will have $20,280 invested with a return rate of, let's say, 1.625. You'll receive $330 per month for the rest of your life. At this rate, after 10 years, you will have received $39,600 from the pension fund. It may not seem like a lot, but it's going to be something to add to your...
Should have done it at 52.
It's that glasses
when, I believe is the next. So when... and why it says here, whether you're getting paid by song or by hour, typically a contract can be filled out at the session. And that's probably the best place to fill out the contract because it's right here. You know who was in the session, you know who played on the recording. So let's say you're having back-to-back sessions, but not everybody is going to be on both both songs or 3 songs. Maybe you're doing in your first session 2 song titles, but then you switch out a drummer. So it's good to have who was on what track, file the contracts. You know how many hours. You know if somebody's doing a sweetening session later or they're doubling or whatever. You know all of that right as it's happening. So it's best to do it as it's happening. And then file with it prior to releasing any music, file with the local 30 days prior. And you'll see here the link for our website, which has all the agreements that we use in Canada. It'll have, I don't know if it has letters of adherences there, but that's usually for producers to sign on to these agreements. The SRLA But all of these agreements are there, the contracts are there, because there's many different things that you may be called to do or work under as a musician. Okay.
Should get paid by the number of takes.
Number of takes, yeah.
Yeah.
So this slide, I won't get too much into it, only as an introduction. So this is choosing the right contract. And I'll just, because this all has to do with the sound recording labor agreement, but there are different levels of it. So the first one says, I don't plan to release it. So you're just doing a demo or you're doing a joint venture agreement with those that you're working with. So the joint venture agreement, there's no money that changes hands. So it's a 0 scale, 0 pension. You guys are just working on your album. But what this does is it breaks down the ownership of the recorded product. If it's going to be, if there's 4 people in your band, it's 25% each. That's the ownership, that you're documenting it for the future when you do start, when you go up a level. So joint venture is when you have no money, which, as starting out, that happens. Then it's the demo, which is another step. So the scale now is $25 an hour, minimum call 2 hours, pension 11.99%. You can't, at this level of the SRLA, you can't collect new use or special payments yet because you haven't put it on a full, you haven't been paid for a full sound recording labor, which is coming, because the scale is much higher than this. So you're not selling it yet. It prohibits the sale, as it says right there. Let me go back. Oops. So number 2, you're releasing it, but you're releasing it on a limited basis. So limited pressing is a local agreement, and it's, let me just go here. It's a local agreement. The scale range is higher than the demo, but lower than sound recording full-fledged yet. The pension is 11.75. The leader's 50% more. But you can sell, at this point, up to 3,000 physical copies or 10,000 downloads. So this is where you start selling. But once you get over the 3,000 threshold or the 10,000 downloads, then you go to the full sound recording labor agreement. Scale. Let me just. All of these different levels use the B4 recording contract. It's just you check a different box as to what it is that you're doing. Single song overdub was developed by the Nashville local because they were having a lot of sessions done remotely, and there's a whole agreement there. But I won't get into that unless I will be giving this presentation to the local that they can post wherever they would like. It is a live document, so whenever things change, it changes. So the last one here is when you are selling it. And so this is the scale for a sound recording labor agreement. $460.25 for a 3-hour session. The product, 15 minutes of recorded product can be produced per session. $11.75 is the pension rate, and it's above 3,000 physical copies that you're selling or 10,000 purchased downloads. And this is also the scale that Special Payments Fund is where you get those residuals from, is from this scale. And this is also where new uses will be coming from this scale. Okay, I'll just show you this Canadian rate sheet, if I can get it to... I got to save it first. Sorry about that. And then there it is. This is a summary chart. I do have some of these here, which I can give out. But it basically lists all the different sessions that can be done under the SRLA and what their rates are for the next 3 years. It includes pension, minimum calls, allowed recorded product after a session. Yeah. And if you're interested in that more, we can talk about that more. Let me see if I can just move ahead. Sorry if I'm making anybody dizzy. Yeah. Was it the how that I think we've already covered this. So just how to file a contract. You submit it to the local with the fees. So with the pension check, with the work dues check, the contract, and then they will send the pension check with a copy of the contract to the pension office. And I think that's it.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.